So first of all, a few things about why we are so passionate about micro-influencers. It's not that we are not working with other types of the influencers, but we are noticing that micro-influencers are being one of the most efficient ones for the e-commerce of small and mid-sized businesses. The return on investment is much higher in comparison with the other types of influencers. You can lower your customer acquisition costs. You can lower your content production costs just by working with the micro influencers, as well as they have their own community power because their communities are more niche and the audience is much more engaged. Therefore, you can reach more audiences with these micro influencers, and you would appear more authentic and you will earn more credibility just because people can relate to them much better than the bigger influencers. The next one. So we are noticing two types of the influencers, right? The one which is more focused on the content production, so they're better content creators. They know what UGC means and they can do the modular content and stuff like this. And there is another type of the influencers which is focusing on growing their audiences, growing their following, engaging it. But what we are seeing right now, so if we chatted, like, for example, a year ago, we would be saying, look, there are two types of the influencers out there. And choose one over the other depending on what you need. Right now, we see that all micro influencers are actually getting into the UGC production as well, because it's also one of the other ways of monetizing their work. So it's kind of like there is a blurry line between the UGC creators and micro influencers, because UGC creators, they start growing their audiences, and micro influencers vice versa. Focusing on, not focusing, but working on the UGC production as well. So what are the ways of optimization? The first one is working with the audiences of these micro-influencers and promoting your products and brand to their own audiences and creating more touch points within your journey to purchase. The second one is implementing including micro-influencers into your UGC production for different marketing channels, not only for the paid social. And the third one is running influencer ads, where we see performance 2 times better than any other ad. So we will talk about every point a little bit in more details right now. So let's start with the influencer marketing campaigns, influencer posting campaigns. Before we go into the detail, I just want us to be aligned on the journey to purchase and what it means. First of all, we still have some brands that are joining our platform, for example, with an expectation of influencer posting driving themselves straight away after the first campaign. So we say, look, our goal as marketers is to build this journey with several touch points, and influencer posting is just being one of them. In our experience, the next one. In our experience, influencer posting campaigns are best for the top and mid of the funnel. Doesn't mean that it's not working for the bottom of the funnel. It's just that we see more efficiency here. There are different types of campaigns. There are different types of campaigns. You can start with the product seeding when you're just sending your products to the influencers that you think are a good match for you. It can be hundreds of influencers. And by doing so, you can filter the ones who genuinely like your product, whose content is good for you, to later start other types of the partnerships, be it an affiliate, commission-based model, brand ambassadorship, or it can be a hybrid model when you combine two, for example, commission and the fixed price for the post. So we would say, the tip would be here is that if you don't know where to start, you've never worked with influencers on a regular basis, start with the product seeding. That would be a great first step to understand what works for you and finding some very good influencers to the longer form of partnerships. The second way of optimization is including your micro-influencers into the UGC production, into this basically content production, process and machine in your inside your marketing team. More and more brands starting doing this. So I think overall we can understand what it means. There are two things here that we will talk about later in also more detail. First is the trend to combine Just the simple content production with producing modular content is shot by shot, B-rolls, hooks, and CTAs apart from each other so that you can have more content for the creative testing. We will talk about how to implement this into your company a little bit later. And the second thing is repurposing content that you receive organically, for example, from the influencers to different channels. It can be posted on your social media from your brand page, but you can also use it for emails, websites. So overall, UGC is a great strategy to use not only in paid social. And micro influencers are your best friends in doing it scalable, higher volume, fast with a faster turnaround. And the last one would be our favorite, which we are kind of like advocates for the influencer ads or branded ads or whitelisted ads or partnership ads, how Meta calls it, or Spark ads, how TikTok calls it, which means basically running the ads from the influencer handle. In our experience and based on our insights, it works best for the bottom of the funnel, for the retargeting of the leads that have not purchased yet. The next one. So the first thing is, like, if you've never tried it, first of all, you have to try it. The best way to try it would be to test regular ads versus whitelisted ads with the same content and see what performs best for you, and then to find your own formula. Creators love working with whitelisted ads, and from our experience, I mean, we are trying to educate creators more and more on how to do this and how to work with this. Because there was not a lot of education and knowledge around this. But for the influencers, it's a win-win partnerships because they're also boosting their own, the growth of their own audiences. But you have the full control of targeting, and you can reach wider audiences with the whitelisted ads. Overall, we see at least 2 times better performance than the regular ads. But again, you have to test and see what works for you. We have some brands for who it didn't work. So it's all about testing. And so to summarize this part, I would like to just finish on this thought, right? So we have several touch points, and that would be great. And micro influencers can create these touch points for you before the purchase through whitelisted ads, through providing you authentic content, through posting to their own audiences. And then in complexity, it gives you the better marketing strategy for better conversions.
All right, so let's say that now you have decided that you want to work with either UGC creators or with an influencer to post on their own social medias. So the first thing you have to do is to request this content or collaboration, and that has to be done in the form of a creative brief. So we will start talking about the creative brief for the UGC for paid social media. Before we start going into the brief, it's important to understand that when we're talking about the brief, it is part of a bigger process, which is your creative testing process. It's a process that has to be eventually in your team, either in-house or outsourced, but the process of constantly testing creatives and seeing what works. So in the sense, for the creative brief, actually, the first part, it's not the brief, but checking your creative strategy. So here's where you go and check. Maybe you have past performance data and knows what works, and this brief will reflect that. Or maybe you want to test new concepts. So you need to research, see what your competitors are doing, go to TikTok ads library, go to Meta ads library, come up with some hypotheses, some angles, and then once you have this, when you go to the creator, you already know what you want to test and learn. So we see that 50% of the success of the content in ads, it depends on how well written the brief is. And this well written has to do a lot with the original concept and ideas and where it came from. Ideally, if we're talking about ads, it should be coming from the brand when we start working with the creators. So, and also before we talk about the briefs, there are some factors that we want to discuss. First, there has been a lot of debate over creative freedom or scripts. Some clients have told me, wow, I have to pay the creator and give them a script. Yes, absolutely. If the goal is content for ads, we should give them specific directions. So let's review the following. We as brands, we are experts in our products. We know what works for us. We know our marketing funnel and our creative strategy. The creators are experts in their own social media, in the type of content they do, and their communities. So if your goal is content for ads, definitely you want to give as much detail as possible in your creative brief. If the creator has to post on their own social media, then they should have more freedom. We can give them some guidance, but they can do the content for their own audiences. In either of these cases, the brief must has very clear information about your brand, your product, and especially your value proposition. So the creator in any of these scenarios, they have to understand what makes your product unique, and that will help the output of the content.